Well, happy Thursday, everyone. It is good to be together today. My name is John Gallagher, and I'm the lead pastor here at Embrace Church. And I just want to welcome you to this time together here on Thursdays. Every Thursday at noon, we come together for a check-in just to kind of see how everybody's doing, to share a prayer request, and to also share just insights and things that God's doing in our lives. Sometimes we share music, sometimes we share scripture, sometimes we share other thoughts and ideas, but we're grateful that you are joining us today. Some of you are probably here with us live, and if you are, let us know you're here. Feel free to interact in the comments. Some of you are likely listening or watching later on, and I'm just happy that you've decided to kind of check us out and hear what we have to say today. So I'm looking forward to this. I've got some just things to share that are fairly personal to me this week and feel like something I need to hear. And so my hope is that maybe you need to hear this message as well today. I want to share just a few quick announcements. First, if you are participating, then if you don't mind sharing the stream, that would be awesome. You know, you might remind other people that we're doing this as we get through a week, from Sunday to Thursday. People might forget that we do our check-in, but feel free to share that on your timeline. That would be great. And then other folks might connect with what we're doing. We have church every Sunday at 11 o'clock online. We had been doing an outdoor service at 9 a.m. and there's still a possibility we may do more of those, but while Fayette County is in the red zone with COVID infection rates, we are actually not going to be doing any in-person gatherings while we're in the red zone to be safe and to make sure our community is safe and our most vulnerable people in our community are safe. We want to play our part in stopping the spread of COVID-19. So just know that we will be updating you and making announcements every weekend to let you know whether we're having an outdoor service or not. And the reality is it's going to start getting cold, and once it gets really cold, we won't be able to do that anyway. We have some exciting things to share with you this weekend about some opportunities to connect throughout the winter season, so be looking for that. I want to share with you a book club that I'm starting. I've done these throughout the past few years where I'll pick a book and then invite folks from the church to read it with me, and then we'll discuss it and kind of learn and grow together. There's so many wonderful books out there, so many that I want to read, and many of them I just feel like I want others to read it with me. And so you're invited to join me in reading a book together over the next about month and a half before the end of the year, and I'm going to show you a picture of it. Hopefully you can see that. It is called The Book of Joy, and it is written really by a guy named Douglas Abrams, but it's really about most of the words in the book are from the Dalai Lama and also from Archbishop Desmond Tutu from South Africa. And so I encourage you guys to check that out and consider reading it. The information's on our Facebook page, and we're going to be reading it over the next few weeks. We'll have 2 Zoom discussions together where you can tune in on Zoom to kind of discuss it and talk about kind of the insights and things that you're gaining from it. And so I encourage you to consider doing that. It's also a way that we can stay connected in the midst of this kind of challenging time where people are experiencing a lot of disconnection. And so this is a way for you to intentionally try to stay connected with your church family. You'll know that others are reading alongside of you. And so I really encourage you to consider joining up with us. And so there's information on our Facebook page. I'll try, if I can, before the end of this to copy some of that information into the comments also. But yeah, that'll be there for you. And then another thing we announced today is Christina posted about Advent kind of kits that we're going to give to individuals and to families that will kind of provide some devotional materials, some hands-on kind of practices that you can do during the season of Advent. And the themes from those packets are going to correspond to the things that we're going to deal with and talk about during our Sunday morning worship service. And so I encourage you all to check that out. She's posted that on our Embrace Church Community Facebook page. And so you can select one of 2 different packets to receive, but I encourage you to check that out also. And we'll be sharing more information about that on Sunday during our worship service. And so we got a small crew participating today. And so I love when you all participate in the comments. So please let me know if you're watching, if you're participating. I'd love to hear from you and know that you are with us so I can just feel that love and connection to you all. Christina is in the comments. She'll let you know any important information that y'all need to know about the Advent kits and that kind of stuff. So today we're going to be talking about the topic of self-compassion. We talk a lot about being compassionate towards others at our church and being others focused and reaching out to other people. But today I want to talk a little bit about what does it mean to show ourselves compassion. Because I think that this is something that is often neglected in Christian circles. We are very others focused, but we often neglect to take care of ourselves. And I've talked about this before during the pandemic, but I want to talk about it again because I think we can't talk about that enough. Right now, so many of us are really, really struggling, and we need to show ourselves compassion and love as we move through this season. Thank you, Dustin, for letting me feel the love, man. I needed to feel some love. Diane, where are our peeps? Good to see you. Rob, I see you guys. If anybody else is participating, throw it out there. I need to know you're there. You know, it'll give me some energy and some life here this morning. So let me begin by saying just a few words today, and then I want to hear from you all. And you can go ahead and start thinking about this. How do you show yourself compassion? How do you show yourself love? How do you take care of yourself, particularly when you're going through a hard time? I'd love to hear some insights from you because you all probably have some great insights, but I also want to share some things that I have come across this week also. You know, sometimes I feel very inspired. Sometimes I feel connected to God. I feel connected to others. Some weeks, as a pastor, I feel so ready to share thoughts and insights with my church, and I just can't wait to preach a sermon or to lead a group or to lead a meeting, and I'm like, I just have so much I want to say and share with people. But other times, I feel tired, I feel disconnected, and I feel unfocused. Some weeks I dread having to sit in front of this computer one more time and try to share something inspiring and uplifting, particularly during a hard season. And this week, I'll tell you, is one of those times where I'm just not feeling it 100%, just being real with you all. And I'll tell you, you know, if I could be with you all in the same room, in the same space, if I could hear you, if I could see you, then, you know, what often happens is in those moments, I can be lifted up by your presence and your spirits. And I'll tell you, it's much harder online to experience presence and connection. Do y'all agree? It's a lot harder to feel that. There's this kind of synergy and this energy and good vibes that are kind of shared when we're in the same space. And so this week is just a time where I'm, just not feeling it 100%. You know, as I was thinking about what to share today, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to share. And earlier this week, my dad, he sends me a lot of things through text, articles, and different things to read that he likes. And he sent me one from the Harvard Business Review. And two people, Rich Fernandez and Steph Stern, wrote an article with this title, and I'll put it on the screen. It said, "Self-compassion will make you a better leader." Self-compassion will make you a better leader was the name of that particular article that they wrote. And I remember reading it, and I just enjoyed it. It was very encouraging to me. These folks didn't teach me necessarily a lot of new concepts, but it was a reminder to me that I need to take care of myself and show myself some compassion and love. And so what I'm going to share with you all just over the next few minutes is something that I need to hear. And so I'm kind of speaking to myself in a way, but hopefully you all will connect and need to hear it also. You know, I was talking with a counselor the other day, And this counselor said to me that he is overwhelmed right now with clients who are really struggling. He said he is just overwhelmed. He can't find time. He's having a hard time even scheduling all the appointments because so many people are struggling and need to talk. And he's having to meet virtually, which is terrible for counseling. And he was sharing with us that he is struggling himself through all this, but now he's having to give and give and give, yet he is also struggling at the same time. This pandemic is affecting everyone in ways that we realize and in ways that we don't realize. You know, I'm often very tired and unfocused. I feel sad sometimes. I feel lonely sometimes. I feel disconnected from almost everyone, it seems, and I long for that connection, but at the same time, I don't want connection and I just want to be alone. It's this crazy tension and just difficult season that I'm in. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? If y'all agree with me, let me know. Do you agree that this is a hard time? Do y'all resonate with some of my feelings of being tired and unfocused and sad and lonely? Christina says pandemic fatigue. Yeah, I agree. It's just really weighing on us. And it's this underlying stress that just doesn't go away. And what I've noticed is that I can be pretty hard on myself sometimes. I'm struggling already, and then I make it worse by being hard on myself. I beat myself up, and I convince myself that I'm failing, that I'm a bad husband, I'm a bad pastor, I'm not reading enough, I'm not eating healthy enough, I'm not doing enough for others, I'm not reaching out to my friends enough. I'm being a bad son or a bad brother, whatever it may be. And when I start to feel this way, out of self-protection, I usually try to push those feelings deep down. I push them as far down as I can so I don't have to deal with them. Do y'all do this? And then what I do sometimes is I just go numb. And I just go through the motions of life without fully being there, without fully being present. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Yeah, Diane says, yes, all of the above. She agrees. And thank you for sharing that, Diane. I feel it. And Rob's pointing out that we have this desire for protection and connection. And so I want to connect, but I also am trying to protect myself. But I'm not really protecting myself when I don't connect, right? And what we're going to find from the book of Joy, if you read that with me, is that joy, much of our joy in our life actually comes through connection to others. And so there's just so many things that I'm wrestling with, so much tension. And this article reminded me, it didn't give me all the answers to all that, but one thing it reminded me to do is to practice self-compassion. And I want to give you a definition of what self-compassion is. Self-compassion, according to these writers, it means taking a perspective toward yourself as you would with a friend or colleague who is facing a setback or challenge. All right, it's pretty simple, right? It means taking a perspective towards yourself as you would with a good friend or a close colleague who is facing a challenge or a setback. Let me break this down just briefly for you. Imagine this. A friend comes to you who is struggling. All right, your friend shares with you about depression and loneliness, feelings of isolation and discouragement. And being the good friend that you are, you validate those feelings. You don't tell them to stop feeling that way. You validate them. You show them love. You encourage your friend. You tell your friend that, the reality is so many other people are facing a hard time. It's okay, all right? Be easy on yourself. Show yourself some love. You offer support to your friend. You would never dream of judging your friend in that moment. You show love and you show support and you show compassion. And self-compassion is treating yourself the same way you would treat someone you dearly love. Showing yourself grace and kindness. Giving yourself a break. Taking time to care for yourself and do things that lift you up. Jesus said the greatest commandments are to love God and to love your neighbor as yourself, right? Y'all know this, it says it in the Gospels. They said, what's the greatest commandments? He says, to love the Lord your God and to love your neighbor as yourself. And I used to think there were only 2 commandments there, to love God and love your neighbor. But I've become convinced that there are 3 commandments there, actually. To love God, to love your neighbor, and to love yourself. Dr. Kristen Neff, who is Rob has told me is the self-compassion kind of guru, knows so much about this. She describes 3 core elements of self-compassion, all right? And I want to share them with you briefly because I think they're very important and can help us to start to think a little bit. This is going to be like a very introductory thing, but hopefully can generate some conversation. So as we're hearing these, go ahead and share thoughts about how you try to practice these things in your own life, okay? I'd love to hear them. And so here's the first one, all right? She talks about the difference between self-kindness and self-judgment. And he says that we need to show ourselves kindness. And so let me talk just a minute about what self-kindness can look like in our lives. You know, sometimes we can be so hard on ourselves, right? Can be so hard on ourselves. And self-compassion and self-kindness is being gentle with yourself. It's being warm and understanding of yourself when you feel inadequate or imperfect, when you mess up and make a mistake. No one has it all together. No leader is good at everything. I have to tell myself that all the time, that there is no leader out there who can do it all and do it all well. Yet for pastors, often we're expected to do it all, and not only do it all, but be able to do it all very well. And nobody can do that, right? No one can do everything. We try our best. I do not to judge other people. I try not to judge others. But we usually judge ourselves freely and frequently, don't we? And we're not talking about complacency here. We want to grow. We want to become better. But what we're talking about is showing ourselves grace and kindness as we travel this long, difficult journey that we're on of life. We move forward, we grow, and we change, but we show ourselves grace along the way. So give yourself some grace. You're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes. You aren't perfect. You can't do it all. You're going to fail. You're going to let people down, and that's okay. All right. Show yourself some grace and keep trying to move forward. That's what I'm saying to myself right now. So self-kindness. Maybe how do you show yourself kindness? The second thing I want to talk about is this. It's understanding common humanity versus isolation, all right? And recognizing our common shared humanity is the goal here instead of isolating ourselves. Let me explain to you what this means real quick in a simple way. You know, when I'm struggling, I tend to believe that I'm all alone in my struggle, that nobody understands my struggle, that no one is struggling the way that I am. I can begin to believe that something is particularly wrong with me, which can lead to feelings of isolation. Do y'all have this problem? Self-compassion acknowledges that all people suffer, that suffering is one of the fundamental things that binds us together as humans. We have a shared humanity of suffering. We all suffer. We all struggle. One thing I've been repeating to myself and to others a lot recently is that we're all struggling right now. I've had a lot of people share with me that they're going through a hard time, and I'm like, I hear you. We are all struggling right now. I remind people and I remind myself that we're all having a hard time, that you are not the only one. And this is why, as a pastor, I try to be vulnerable and honest. I have a platform to share, and so I try to be vulnerable and honest when I'm not doing well, when I'm not feeling it. Because that's true for everybody. And I want to speak that out there to hopefully give other people courage, to speak that out there for themselves, and also to remind people that we're not alone in this, that we're all struggling. Perhaps knowing my struggle could help someone else feel less alone and isolated. The last thing that I want to share is this, is that we need to practice mindfulness versus over-identification, all right? And I want to focus on mindfulness and what mindfulness is very simply. It's a very important practice to try to cultivate. And so, often when we experience negative emotions, at least what I do is I try to suppress them. And with unlimited access to media and to noise, we readily have tools available to help us ignore our negative emotions and feelings, don't we? We can throw on a podcast or a TV show. We can mindlessly scroll through feeds and through news. And often it's a way for me to suppress negative emotion and feeling and kind of go into this numb place where I'm not having to worry or deal with those negative feelings. Kristin Neff says this, and I think it's important. She says, mindfulness is a non-judgmental, receptive mind state in which one observes thoughts and feelings as they are without trying to suppress or deny them. It is a non-judgmental, receptive mind state in which one observes thoughts and feelings as they are without trying to suppress or deny them. And I think this is so important and valuable to us. Mindfulness really requires us slowing down so that you can be aware of how you're feeling, the emotion that you're feeling. And then once you're aware of it, just acknowledge it without judgment. And once you do that, you can then begin to deal with it. We try to keep ourselves so busy sometimes, running from thing to thing with all the noise, and we just ignore the emotions and feelings that we're having. And then what can often happen with me is they come out sideways. And they often come out in my closest relationships, like with Laura. And my negative feelings and emotions can come out in ways that are just not helpful or productive and can be hurtful. But when I'm mindful and I take time to just think about how am I feeling in this moment, then I can avoid being swept up by negative reactivity to painful emotions. Often I'm just anxiously reacting to things. And I think what I need to be trying to do is engaging more in loving response. But in order to have a loving response to what I'm facing, I have to be aware of what I'm feeling. Laura can often tell, and I can tell it about her too, when she can tell when I'm experiencing negative emotions or feelings or going through something in my mind because I'm usually kind of off balance and I'm negatively reacting to her and to other situations. But mindfulness helps us to slow down, become less anxious, and move to a thoughtful, loving response, okay? So this is just a very basic overview, but hopefully it can help you to give some tools to start thinking a little bit about how you can do this in your own life. And so 3 core elements of self-compassion are these, and let me give you a summary. Self-kindness, recognizing our common humanity, and practicing mindfulness. All right, and you can do these 3 things even in just a short time before you go into a meeting or before you're going to have a conversation with someone. Or you can do some longer kind of practices where you're sitting in these for a little while and practicing self-kindness, recognizing common humanity, and also being very mindful. And so for some of you, this may feel a little in the clouds, and maybe you need to research it and dig into it a little bit more. And I'm going to copy the links to the articles I was telling you about into the comments in just a moment. But my question for you today is this: how can we practice self-compassion? What are some practical things that we can do? What are some things that work for you, where you show so we can show ourselves kindness? What are ways that we can recognize our common humanity? How can we practice mindfulness? And so, yeah, I'm just interested to hear if y'all have any thoughts. And what I want to do as you are thinking about that is just, I'm going to sing a short song for you that I've sang before, but it's one I keep coming back to during the pandemic. And it's by Andrew Peterson, and it's called Be Kind to Yourself. And he wrote it for his daughter. It was a message to his daughter, and there's a powerful YouTube video of him singing it with his daughter, but she was getting caught up in just a lot of feelings of shame and just being hard on herself, and he just wanted to communicate to her, hey, like, you're loved, you're valuable, you're precious, Be kind to yourself. And so I want to share that song with you. And then after that, I'll copy those links into the comments. And then just take maybe a minute or two at the end to kind of see if you all have any good thoughts or things that I want to speak out loud, particularly for those who may be listening later on. So let me grab my guitar over here, and then I'm just going to share this song with you as you're kind of thinking about it. And if you want to just kind of close your eyes, you can do that too, and just receive this song as a blessing kind of sung over you this morning, then you can do that too. You've got all that emotion, heaving like an ocean. You're drowning in a deep, dark well. I can hear it in your voice. If you only had a choice, you would rather be anyone else. I love you just the way that you are. I love the way He made your precious heart. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. I know it's hard to hear it when that anger in your spirit is pointed like an arrow at your chest. When the voices in your mind are anything but kind, you can't believe your Father knows best. I love you just the way that you are. I love the way He's shaping your heart. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. And how does it end when the war that you're in is just you against you against you? Gotta learn to love, learn to love, learn to love your enemies too. You can't expect to be perfect. It's a fight you have to forfeit. You belong to me whatever you do. So lay down your weapon, darling, take a deep breath and realize I love you. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Gotta learn to love, learn to love, learn to love your enemies too. Well, that's a song that I imagine God singing to me, and hopefully it can be encouraging to you today. We're about out of time, but I just want to look through and see some of the things y'all are talking about. I've seen a little bit of it already. But I'm just going to scroll back up through here real quick and see kind of some of the stuff that y'all are talking about. Christina likes to read Psalm 103 because it reminds her God has compassion for her first, and that helps her to feel like she has permission to give it to herself. Because God loves her, shows compassion to her, then she can show it to herself. Amen. Stacy Long, Psalm 139 is one he likes as well. Y'all should go look those up. Dustin enjoys spending time with people he loves, talking about life and big ideas, and gives him so much life. Amen. Rob is a counselor himself, and he just shares in the comments that he identifies with what that counselor was sharing. And that Rob is not the one who told me that, but he's sharing now that he resonates with just those feelings of overwhelmness and just seeing the hurt and pain that a lot of people are going through, and then also having to deal with that himself. And Dustin's talking about sevens on the Enneagram are expert at repressing emotions and pain. And thank you for being honest about that, Dustin. And he's a 7 himself, and so he's not calling anyone out. He's pointing out his own self that's something that he often does. And so, yeah, we applaud your vulnerability and also your commitment to trying not to do that, Dustin. And Christian Torp wishes that he could have that skill, I guess, to repress his own negative emotions. Rob would say we need to say to ourselves what we do say to others, and that would be very helpful. Kathy Durham, I turn it into shame for things as far back as their childhood. Yeah, we have such a propensity to do that, don't we? And yeah, so thank you for being honest about that, Kathy. And just seeing if anything else, Dustin's just resonating that podcasting and doom scrolling are his drugs of choice to kind of suppress the negative feelings. And I agree that that's something I can often get into as well. Rob's telling us we need to remember to breathe, reflecting and responding rather than reacting and regretting. Amen to that. Christina loves music from honest, vulnerable songwriters, and that can help her to slow down and recognize her emotions and give her safe space to come out and share them and deal with them. And Christian just pointing out, being the good friend that you are presupposes not only that you're a good friend, but that you have friends. And that's a good point, you know. For sure, not everybody has tons of friends, and not everyone's a good friend either. But imagine if you were a good friend and how you would treat that person in your life, and try to treat yourself in a similar way is what I'm trying to get at there. Diane, adult coloring books are relaxing and focusing for her. And Rob just pointing out that lyric of the song, it's you against you against you. And isn't that often that we are our worst enemy, our own worst enemy, that it's not so much, we do have real enemies out there outside of ourselves, but we can also be an enemy to ourselves and do a lot of harm to ourselves. And I'm trying to help us to push back against that. So thank you all for being a part of this and being vulnerable and honest and sharing some of your thoughts. And hopefully this gives you just a little bit of encouragement to think about, are you practicing self-compassion? Or have you gotten to a pretty low place where you've been beating yourself up a lot? And the good news is there's grace, and that God will come alongside of you, and he will help you to stand back up and get to a healthier spot. And the other good news is that you have folks, friends, you have us at church, you have me and Christina and Tanya and others who can be there for you to support you. So please reach out if you need something. To be honest, like coming alongside folks who are going through hard times, it can actually lift me up and help me to feel better myself because I enjoy that. It gives me life to be able to walk alongside you all in your journey. So please don't hesitate to reach out. It's an honor and a joy for us to walk alongside of you. So thank you for sharing this time with me. If you would like to be a part of the book discussion group, send me an email, john@embraceyourcity.com. You can comment on the Facebook post as well. I'd love to know how many folks are going to participate. If you cannot afford a book, or your finances aren't going to allow you to purchase one right now, if that's a hindrance, then let me know. I'll make sure to send you one for free. So I'll buy you a book if you want to participate. But I love you guys, and it's been a lot of just joy for me to be with you, and just seeing your comments and being a part of this with you has just really lifted me up a little bit today. So I love you all, and we'll see you on Sunday. Don't hesitate to reach out. We are here for you. So we will see you next time. All right, bye.